Sorry I'm late. Let's begin. Arrange these objects in order. Thank you. Choose one. Are you certain?
One surprising element of our results was that the subjects tended to express maximal confidence in their own arrangement when the experimenter did not demonstrate a process of arrangement ahead of time. The very absence of a specified methodology may have elicited an unexpected creative response to the problem for many subjects. Many subjects also asked a greater number of questions about the purpose of the experiment when they received less instruction, while subjects who received extensive instruction and directives asked very, very few questions, thus, similar to Malgram's conclusion, demonstrating a tendency towards the passive acceptance of direction emanating from a perceived authority. In conclusion, this study of the arrangement of platonically shaped objects by subjects receiving varying degrees of authoritative instruction corroborates our hypothesis and confirms earlier studies that have indicated the salience of officialdom to the regulation of inquiry. Thank you. Any questions? Oh, you in the blue shirt in front. And how do you position your current work amongst other recent studies that use the arrangement of platonically shaped objects to verify the emergent proclivity of tractability towards patriarchal figures? That's a good question. I presume you're referring to the Johnson, Peters, and Jagermeister study at University of Berkeley last year, which I think appeared in the Journal of Experimental Psychology. Our study reached similar conclusions about the role of authorization, but the Johnson et al. Study, because they utilized adolescent behaviors, it was burdened with a great array of possibly confounding variables, which our study managed to scrupulously avoid. Any other questions? Rogers, please. In what journal do you plan to publish your study in? I plan to submit to Experimental Psychology, though I've got to say I've got a really good friend who's on the editorial board of American Psychology, and he's been really, really trying to get me for this article, but I want to stick with Experimental Psychology. Other questions? My colleague, we met in Buffalo last year, right? Do you plan to perform subsequent analysis regarding the influence of authority on the regulation of inquiry? I plan to continue my studies, to persist in my studies as long as the funding will hold out. Other questions? Oh, up there? So what are the sources for your grants for this study? Funding? So far we've gotten funding from, well, a corporate funding from a public relations firm and some governmental grants as well. The government grants, by the way, I think they're coming because they're very interested in how our research can be utilized through their own public relations efforts. Last questions, anyone? So could you please kindly explain how your study would be relevant to the public and contemporary social problems? Wow, that is a good question. It's a bit beyond my level of expertise, and you might very well want to direct it towards a sociologist. But I think right now, I think this panel, we're out of time. Thank you everyone so much for coming. And I look forward to talking to everyone again tomorrow at the panel session. Thank you. Thank you.